Capricorn moon. This person, this is, not the best moon sign to have. Like you can always see the negative sides of, your situation. So you might be a person, that has, goals of having different things, right? You know, this kind of, house, this kind of career, this kind of this, and you've like always had that about you, this drive, this ambition. But sometimes, since it's a moon sign, you get lost in what you don't have and you get angry and you're like, God damn, shit's moving slow right now. And I was kind of expecting to be on course to have this already figured out right now. Cause like I don't like being looked at as a person that doesn't have the shit together. I hate that. I love being the one that people can confide in about how I've acquired this through hard work, through being disciplined, through, just, sticking to it. Not really, emphasizing too much of anything, but like sticking to the goal, seeing it and like understanding that that's real and I can have it. But like it'll take, time and hard work. I'll have to, cut people off who are not, you know, doing, what I'm doing, you know, address it as it appears. I don't do that shit. I'm doing something else. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm trying to acquire, you know, these type of things. I'm trying to be around these kind of people. I'm trying to have this type of career, you know, and then like all of that could be, right now in your life, or, different points in your life. You're like, damn, in my mind, knowing how I am, I'm a person who can do. Like this is an earth sign and the moon sign. I know I have the ability to do all kind of shit. But because of people, ideas, maybe, you know, towards me and how they're, looking at shit, I don't have this right now because like people want to like put delays in front of me, make shit harder for me. And I can still work with that, but there's still a part of me that's like, God damn, like why the fuck is that happening to me? Why the fuck are you putting all those roadblocks in front of me? You know, I do and I do. Why do I have to wait for that? You know, I could even work with you too. You know, I can talk and ask, what can I do better? What can I do better to, make this situation, move more quickly for me, and it ain't that it needs to move quickly. You have an idea of when you want to get shit done. Like by this age, I want to have this. By this, time, I want to have this, and then you don't meet those requirements. You don't make that happen. You put it on yourself. You're like, God damn. You feel like less of a person. You start to kind of question, like, can I really do this? You can. You know, they're just delays in front of your fucking face right now. And you don't like dwell on the negative side of it. You just gotta, find a way to not be too hard on yourself and like work through it, because you are a person who always can. I can do. I can, find something to do, be useful to people, you know, for my ends too. Maybe you were in a career where you thought it was going to work because you were listening to your parents and shit. But then you realize that, I actually like to do this for a career, and then you're like in that position in life where you're trying to transition to another thing and like do that like full heartedly and ambitiously and all that extra stuff. But then you have all that, your family saying this, your friends saying, I thought you were, and you ain't one to, not let people know what you're gonna do either. But then when you don't acquire these things in a meaningful amount of time, or in a you're just like, damn, like I should have more. I need to work harder, you know, and you're really hard on yourself about shit. Not necessarily people, you know, you're like, oh, well, damn, you can just be a very depressed person afterwards and like kind of, forget about those goals, and just like sit and wallow in that like despair. I don't have these things now. Maybe I'll never have them, that type of deal. But you are a person who does do shit. People do, want to, be with you. People want to help you out. People want to see you acquire those things, you know, become that, whatever you want to be, whatever career you want to have. They want that. Some people do, and don't ever feel like you can't, because like you're the person that wants to be confided in, right? And I understand that too, a little bit. But you gotta just, sometimes you gotta just, ask other people for help a little bit too. And then that's a part of, that too. But, never forgetting your goal and, having that ambitious spirit about you. And you just keep doing, what you do, head to the grindstone, stay disciplined, hardworking. People will take note of that, and eventually you will acquire those things. But just right now, maybe you're not doing that and you're getting depressed about it. I had, thought, or because of how I work, that I would be here right now. But right now, there's delays and all kind of shit that is just, eating at me. And you're not one to like even fucking share that with anybody out there. You kind of internalize it, keep it to yourself. So you're always an angry, pessimistic person because you internalize that shit and you don't you know, do anything with that. You know, you just gotta, roll with it, and one day you will be, that person you want to be. Don't turn to, being, toxic or any of that, and you'll be all right. So be cool, calm, corner, Capricorn moons. You know, keep that ambitious spirit alive.